Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. Also welcome to my September 2024 TBR. As always, this TBR is also pretty ambitious. I think there are around 29 books on this TBR, and I'm looking at this stat, and these are not the only books that I wanted to read in September. But I'm also really happy, I'm carefree, because there are so many amazing books releasing in September, so it's just put me in a good mood. My most anticipated book of 2024, which you've seen me gush about, The Life Impossible, I have the copy and I will be reading it in September, and I can't talk. You see, the excitement has pushed my voice into a different level altogether, and I think only dogs can hear me now. Anyway, so since there are so many books here, about 29 as I was talking to you about, 29, since there are so many books, let's dive right into my September 2024 TBR, and let me share with you all the books that I want to read in September 2024, which is pretty ambitious of me. I mean, nothing new there, but okay. So first up are the Carryovers, which I've been bringing over since February or March. But the good news is that I've made amazing progress on one of these books. That's amazing, right? Good job, Sol. Anyway, the first book is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. No, I'm not saying anything. The second book, which I have made progress, I'm on chapter 9 and I have about 80 pages or so to go before I finish the book, and that book is Detransition Baby by Tori Peters, and I'm kicking myself as to why I have been sleeping on this book for so long. I started this in March for Drama Queenathon, and I kept saying I would read it. I kept adding them to every TBR since then, and you've seen me carry this book over. This book talks about transgender women, and oh my god, there's so much to process in this book. The writing is brilliant to say the least, and I'm a fan of this book now. Even 80 pages from the end, I don't know how it's going to end, but I am a fan. Next is a subscriber pick for the month of September, and that is Days at the Morisaki Bookshop by Satoshi Agisawa and translated into English by Eric Ozawa. And this is about the main character and her reminiscing the days, the time that she spent in the Morisaki Bookshop. And I am thinking that this is going to be quite emotional, because bookshops are a thing of emotional for me personally and for bookworms in general. But I got this as a birthday gift and I'm already reading it. I mean, who am I? But also, next is a book that I'll be reading for Buzzwordathon, being hosted by Books and Lala, and the prompt for this month is to read books with titles that have the senses or with what you sense in them. So the book that I have chosen is Mouthful of Birds by Samantha Schweblin. This is a collection of short stories, and this is supposed to be some kind of an eerie, creepy set of stories that will raise your hackles. This was, I think, longlisted for the Man Booker Prize. Wait, I don't know. Yes, for the Man Booker International Prize, and it didn't win, but I've heard amazing things about this book, and I'm so glad that I got it and that I'm going to be reading it. This is short stories, and even then it has about 225 pages, so it's not going to be a lot of strain on the brain, if you will. But if it's going to be creepy, if it's going to be horror type, then I'll have to calculate a bit and make sure that I don't read it at night. Next are 4 Netgalley ARCs. The first is The Shadow Key by Susan Stokes Chapman. It is releasing on September 10th, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen this book in a lot of places and I've heard people talk favorably about it. I have no idea what it is about. I started reading it, I think 2-3 months ago, and I never got around to it. I read a few percent of the book, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to soft DNF it for the time being, and I'm going to get back to it at a later time. Next is House of Frank by Kay Sinclair. This is about grief and a witch, and there's loneliness and there's found family. Suffice to say, I am super excited to read it because you combine all of these things, and I am expecting a good story, if not great. Next is She Followed the Moon Back to Herself by Amanda Lovelace, and this is a poetry collection, and I've already read it, but I will not talk about it at the moment. So you will see it in my September 2024 wrap-up, so please stay tuned for that. Next is The Wobbler by Sarah Beth Durst, and this is the story of a woman who keeps moving from place to place, but then she comes upon a town which has a sort of a curse on it, and it makes sure that the residents cannot leave. So now she is very intrigued and she wants to find out what is going on in this town. This sounds so good. As someone who used to want to travel a lot but who doesn't get to travel a lot at the moment, to read about someone who goes from time to time and then finds a place where she wants to live for a bit. In its own way, it's some kind of a cruel poetry or something. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. Next are some gifted copies that were sent to me by the authors themselves. Thank you to these authors for sending me these review copies. The first of which is The Forest Bonds by Vardhini Amin, and this is a fantastical story of when a forest comes alive at night. This sounds so good. That cover is amazing. The blurb is amazing. What it sounds like. I don't know if I'll be reading it this month or next month, but I'm hoping that I get to it this month. Next is Warlord of Ayodhya Resurrection by Shatrajit Nath, and this is a sequel to Warlord of Ayodhya Rebellion, which I read in 2022 and absolutely loved. It was like high on my rating list as well, 4.5 stars or something, and it was so entertaining, so good, so well written, and I got so excited when the author said that this book is releasing. So I requested it from him and he very kindly sent over a gifted copy, but Kindle being Kindle and technology being technology, it somehow got lost in the whole hullabaloo, and I realized that this was there with me and that I have it, I can read it, because I've been wondering where this book is, why I haven't read it yet or something. Now I have it and I'm going to read it. This follows from the events of what happened in Rebellion, and we see Bharat ruling over Ayodhya in Ram's absence. This sounds so good. The author's writing is gripping, it is intense, it is lovely, it has all those emotions that will, you know, awaken inside of you. Next is Writer's Guild by Akhila Krishna, and this is a poetry collection which I'm thinking it is based on the title Writer's Guild. And as someone who has that, like, I feel a lot of guilt for neglecting my writing on so many levels. It just, the title, the cover, it called out to me on some sort of visceral level. Next is Kavitri by Aman J. Bedi, and this is a story of colonialism and caste and class and power and resistance and fighting for one's people. There's so much in this book that called to me. Anything about colonialism and of defeating colonialism and resistance and fighting for one's people and whatnot, I will welcome with open arms and I will read it. Next is a book sent to me by Pan Macmillan India, and that is Children of Anguish and Anarchy by Tomi Adeyemi, and this is the third in the Orisha trilogy, and this wraps the trilogy up, and I wanted to find out what happens to Zeli, what happens to the whole gang. And it's been a while since I've read the first two books, so I'm going to have to do a recap of sorts, a summary, and then I will move on to reading this one. Next was a book sent to me by HarperCollins Australia, and that was Cherrywood by Jock Sarong, and this is a historical fiction about community and love and finding out new things about your community or something like that. This is set in two timelines, one in I think 1916, the other in 1993. Let's be honest, I read the blurb and the only thing that stuck to my mind was that historical fiction 1993 and 1916. 1993 historical fiction is a little bit too hard to wrap my head around because it's a touchy subject for us millennials, but yes. Next are some exciting new releases. First up is The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. Do I have to say anything about this book? About why this is on this TBR? Anything? No? No. Then the next book is Before We Forget Kindness by Toshikazu Kawaguchi and translated into English by Jeffrey Troslot, and this is the 5th in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. And in this also we follow 4 more people who go to a cafe where you can travel back in time, but there are rules and these people have to follow it. Who these 4 people are, what their journeys are, why they want to travel back in time, what's going on, is what this book is about, and I'm so excited to read it. I had actually thought that Before We Say Goodbye was the last book in the series, but then news came out that this had also been published and that the English version was coming out very soon, and I was like, things are alright in the world to a certain extent. Why is the world the way it is? Anyway, so there are 3 more new releases that I'm really excited for. One is Daydream by Hannah Grace. This is the 3rd in the Maple Hills series, and this follows Henry, I think. And I loved Icebreaker and Wildfire, and this is one that I am so looking forward to. I've been tracking it ever since the expected release date was in June, and it kept getting pushed, and suddenly now it's September, but I think it has released now and I'm so excited to get a copy of this book. I mean, not just get a copy but also to read it, because these books are fun, aside from being steamy, but these books are fun. Next is 3 Wild Dogs and the Truth by Markus Zusak. Markus Zusak is one of my favorite authors of all time. I loved The Book Thief, and this is a memoir, I think, about the Zusak's experiences with 3 wild dogs, and they adopted them or something, if I'm not mistaken. See, to be honest, I don't need to know what a book is about if it's being written by one of my favorite authors of all time, right? So that's why this book is on this list. Next is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune, and this is a sequel, I think, to The House in the Cerulean Sea, and The House in the Cerulean Sea was one of my favorite books of 2020, and it is so warm and light and lovely and whatnot. It made me super emotional as well, and when I saw that this book is coming out, no questions asked, I want to find out what happened to Linus and all of them and the whole gang. And this story of found family, it has taken up space in my brain. Next are some random books that caught my eye that I really wanted to read, and the first of which is Daughters of the Sun by Ira Mukhoti, and this is about the Mughal women, and Ira Mukhoti tells us in this book about how the Mughal women held power. They were not just passive bystanders, they had a lot of power in the Mughal courts, and I actually read about 32% of this book in May or June, but I realized quickly that I needed a physical copy so that I can tab, annotate and whatnot. So when we went to India, I got a copy of this book, and now I'm looking forward to restarting it all over again and to reacquaint myself with these women. Next is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. This is the first in the Thursday Murder Club series, and this is on my second half of 2024 TBR. Then this follows 4 friends in a retirement village who get up to solving crimes, to solving murders, and they call themselves the Thursday Murder Club. I've heard amazing things about this. Even my husband has read it and he loved it, and I don't think a greater endorsement for this needs to be had. Next is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman, and this is the story of women who have been imprisoned and who have been guarded for a long time, but at some point they are released and they go out into the world, and now I think it's something like they don't know how to interact with the world, they don't know how to deal with whatever the world is throwing at them because they have never seen or interacted with men before. This is one that I'll be buddy reading with a friend, and this is also one that I started reading. I got about 15% in and then had to go to India, and we did the whole thing where I abandoned it. It feels like I abandoned my friend halfway through also, but next is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett, and this is a classic. I think this is a children's story, I'm not sure. This is about a girl who is sent to live with her uncle or something, and then there she discovers a secret garden and whatnot. I don't know the details, but I'm looking forward to reading this. I read the first page recently and I'm like, okay, am I going to be angry? Because it sounds like there was a lot of negative things said about Indians. Maybe not a lot, but you know, those casual things that I usually say. Those. Next is Welcome to the Hunam Dong Bookshop by Huang Bo Rum and translated into English by Shana Tan. And I think the title says it all. I don't know if I will actually read this in September, but I really want to because I've heard great things about this book. But yes, this is a heartwarming story about finding comfort and acceptance in your life and the healing power of books. And then there was a book that I found at the library which I thought was really interesting, and it looks like it's easy to read as well. And that book is Another Brooklyn by Jacqueline Woodson. Let me read out the blurb for you because it's been a while since I got this book and I've forgotten everything about what it says on the blurb. For August, running into a long ago friend sets in motion resonant memories and transports her to a time and a place she thought she had mislaid. 1970s Brooklyn, where friendship was everything. August, Sylvia, Angela and Gigi share confidences as they amble their neighborhood streets, a place where the girls believed that they were amazingly beautiful, brilliantly talented, with a future that belonged to them. But beneath the hopeful promise, there was another Brooklyn, a dangerous place where grown men reached for innocent girls in dark hallways, where mothers disappeared and futures vanished at the turn of a corner. Madness, just a sunset away. And the last three books on my September 2024 TBR, I won't tell you what they are, I won't describe anything, I'm just going to tell you that these are books that I'll be reading for a video. Guess which video that is in the comments below. The first one is Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. The second one is The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley by Courtney Walsh. And the third book is Marley and Me by John Grogan. That's all I'm going to say about this. So that, plus the ebooks that I was talking to you about, was my September 2024 TBR. What did you think of this video? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What books are you planning to read in September 2024? What books from these do you think I should be prioritizing? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.